Ollie is 16th. Let's go ahead and hop into our match here and see who's going to win. Caleb there is part of Team Nerd Rage Gaming. Aintrazi is
one of our big teams on the Star City Tour.
He is the captain of Team Bolus.
Another great team. I like how we've entered the age of teams. I know that Brad Nelson wrote an interesting article on all the teams that have been doing well and sort of cropping up on the SCG Tour. But, you know, for me, it's really cool because now instead of having one player to root for, you can root for like a whole team, you know, like, and a lot of these teams are based in certain regions. Like, for example, Nerd Rage Gaming, you know, they're based in the, you know, the Midwest. And I think, you know, Bolus is a team that's based maybe a little farther west, if I'm not mistaken.
North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. And then MGG, it's kind of like a Long Island, New York City crowd. That's sweet.
Yeah.
It really is.
I like it. All right, so both players are mulligan to 6. Ollie's going to ship his scry to the bottom, Caleb to the top. Ollie's going to lead off with a Sunken Hollow, and Caleb just has an Evolving Wilds. Not too much going on for the first couple of turns here, but Ollie has one of his 4 copies of Jace on 2, and this card does a lot of work in this Sultai Delirium deck.
This feels like being home. This is this is what I think should be happening in the format, and it just doesn't happen enough. It's just turn 2 Jaces. Jace is just such a good card.
Jace is a very good card. Well, Caleb's going to fetch out Basic Island on Ollie's end step. Let's see what his turn 2 play is going to be. Looks like we've got a Forest and a Sylvan Advocate. Just going to pass the turn back to Ollie. This is like the traditional standard battle, Jace versus Sylvan Advocate.
Yep.
Jace is going to loot for Ollie, pitching in Evolving Wilds. We're going to have an Island, and a Ruinous Path is going to take care of that Sylvan Advocate. Ollie's already halfway to Delirium, and he has a Grasp of Darkness in his hand, so we could be seeing Delirium as early as the next couple of turns.
Yeah, and Jace is certainly going to help facilitate that.
Caleb Scherer is going to play Plains and cast Thalia Heretic Cathar. So this is going to make all of Ollie's creatures and non-basic lands enter the battlefield tapped. It is a 3/2 first strike creature, so it does pretty well on offense and on defense.
And if tempo is something that you care about, Thalia is awesome. Thalia is one of the cards that I really wish I was playing, but instead I'm playing a different deck.
And Ollie is just going to use Grasp of Darkness to take care of that Thalia. Caleb is going to main phase this Collected Company.
And I think the reason he's doing this is because he's kind of hoping that he hits a Reflector Mage for that Jace so that Ollie doesn't get a chance to untap and flip it. Because once it's flipped, it's pretty hard for Caleb to actually deal with it, especially considering he doesn't really have much of a board right now.
It's also just a way to play around counter spells in case Ollie decided to change his deck up.
That's true, but it doesn't play around Languish very well. So, you know, there's certainly a lot of pros and cons for each. I think the defining factor here, though, is just the ability to hit a Reflector Mage.
Yeah, if Ollie is able to transform this Jace into a Languish on his next turn, that could put him pretty far ahead in this game.
Yeah.
And this is going to enter the battlefield and find a Forest for Caleb. He also gets a Duskwatch Recruiter. I expect us to pass the turn after this. Yeah,
if Ollie can set up a activate Jace, draw a card, discard a card, flip my Jace, play Languish, it would just be blowout city. But we'll see what he can do. He's going to get an extra draw step with that loot, so can he find a Languish? Or at least just something else good.
He does have 4 of them in his hand. Looks like he found a Silumgar's Command.
Does he have Oath of Jace in his deck?
He does. He has 3 copies.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a great way to facilitate all kinds of things in this deck.
All right, so he's just going to loot with Jace. Let's see what he decides to discard.
He's got some tricky options. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anything in his hand that really impacts the board.
Looks like he's going to discard an Oath of Jace. That's going to transform into his Jace Rinse Prodigy into Jace Telepath Unbound. Let's see if he decides to go up or down. Looks like we're going to go down and Grasp of Darkness.
I like killing the Duskwatch Recruiter here because Ollie doesn't really have a whole lot going on. And if Caleb gets the opportunity to untap, he can just start activating Duskwatch Recruiter and getting ahead on card advantage.
All right, so Ollie just has another copy of Jace Rinse Prodigy that he's going to add to the battlefield. Let's see what Caleb decides to do. He's likely just to attack the other Jace. And Ollie's going to let it die.
And a lot of times, in my experience playing Jace decks, the first Jace is kind of a sacrifice. It just smooths out your draw, probably dies.
Kills a couple creatures.
Yeah, like your opponent has to do something to kill it. Second Jace is the Jace that really starts to do some real work.
All right, well, here we have a Tireless Tracker for Caleb. And Evolving Wilds, along with the Sacrifice, is going to give him 2 clues. Man, that card is real good. Ollie's going to draw a card for his turn. It's a Forest.
Does he have a Dragonlord Silumgar in his hand?
It's a Silumgar's Command.
Okay. That's still great.
Yeah, it looks like, even though he used Dragonlord Silumgar to great effect last week, looks like there isn't one in his main deck, and there is not...
There's one in his main deck.
Oh, he does have one. So
written in the spells column.
So it might be a Dragonlord
Which
Silumgar.
I can't really disagree with.
Looks like it is the Dragonlord.
Wow, so this is great. So what's particularly nice about this is getting the Tireless Tracker. That's I believe the better target. Because if he gets the Nissa and then flips it, how exactly does that work?
It will come back under its owner's control.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately. All right, so it looks like Ollie's just going to discard a land. He's going to transform his Jace. Now, he also has Liliana in hand, so Jace plus Liliana gives him a lot of protection from creatures and forces Caleb to have to really overextend to get in damage.
Yeah, that said, leaving the tracker on Caleb's side of the board means that Caleb may have access to more cards. But it looks like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, so he's just going to cash in that Jace to kill the tracker and going to allow Nissa to kill off his Jace.
So despite Ali playing the control role, he's able to keep the board clear, but he's pretty far behind on cards, which is a scary position to be in as a control player. He's going to be able to get this Sylvan Advocate, which is pretty nice, but Caleb can crack these clues for more cards. He can... so looks like Caleb's digging for a Spell Queller with his Collected Company.
Yeah, so Ollie's going to play a Nissa, or play Liliana. Caleb's going to Spell Queller in response. Looks like he's only going to hit a Tireless Tracker, though. This is going to allow Liliana to resolve, but she's not really going to be able to live through this next turn now.
I think she's just going to minus and get back the Jace and play it.
All right, so we're going to minus, going to hit Sunken Hollow and a Nissa.
This is kind of nice. Ali does need card advantage.
He's going to get back Jace.
Jace is the more immediate play.
Got an Evolving Wilds. And this is going to pass the turn back. So far, Caleb's gone through 2 Collected Companies and doesn't have an insane board presence. However, he does have a Tireless Tracker in play, 2 clues, a land in hand that's going to give him another clue, and transform that Nissa, and things are going to go downhill pretty fast for Ollie. However, once Nissa transforms, he can steal it with Dragonlord Silumgar.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that's tricky about playing a control deck in this format is, excuse me, the aggro decks, particularly Bant Company, just have access to so much card advantage. They just don't run out of gas particularly easily. And Ollie's control deck, it doesn't have a whole lot of card advantage if its planeswalkers aren't staying alive.
It's also nice that Guiltleaf Winnower can kill Tireless Tracker.
Yeah.
So we might end up seeing Ollie being able to use that Winnower to take care of
All
Tireless
you want to do is
Tracker.
talk about Guiltleaf Winnower.
Oh, I'm just talking about the things that it does.
Yeah, sure.
There are
You
a
know
lot
what
of
it
things
doesn't do
that
is
it
kill
doesn't
Sylvan
do.
Advocate.
It does not.
Or Nissa. It is a good card, though.
All right, so Nissa is going to transform into the Sage Animist. Let's see if Caleb decides to make a 4/4 or just going to +1. I like a +1. Maybe,
I like plussing
maybe get
also.
another clue for your Tireless Tracker. It's definitely scary in the face of Dragonlord Silumgar, but... All right, so Lumbering Falls. It's going to give him another clue.
And Lumbering Falls is particularly nice with Sylvan Advocate. So I would expect Ollie's going to try to steal this Nissa with his Dragonlord. I think that's what he's been saving up for.
Ooh, and there's a Languish.
And being able to take the Nissa and minus it is quite nice. Because then even if Caleb has a way to deal with the Dragonlord Silumgar. At least he's got the 4/4 for his troubles, which is, you know, pretty nice on this board. Well, not that nice actually, considering this the tracker can get to 5 toughness and the advocate's at 5 toughness.
Well, Ollie is going to loot with his Jace. He's going to discard a Languish. That's going to transform the Jace.
And Languish doesn't even kill either of these creatures.
No. So I like getting rid of the Languish there. I think that we might just see a plus on the Sylvan Advocate, and they just take the Nissa and minus.
Yeah, I like that play.
All right, Dragonlord Silumgar for Ollie. That is not going to get hit by Spell Queller. Costs a little more than 4.
This is still a dicey scenario for Ali. He doesn't have,
Well, that Silumgar being a 3/5 Death Touch is a huge body here.
It is, but the land and the tracker can potentially attack through it and trade.
Yeah, Lumbering Falls becoming a 5/5 is pretty important.
Also, Caleb's just going to draw 3 extra cards here. He could hit Reflector Mage, he could hit Collected Company.
All right, so Caleb's going to draw a card with one of his clues.
And you can just, gas up.
Man, clues are real nice.
Tireless Tracker's real nice.
Going to draw another card. Oh, might as well do it again.
Might as well. And Caleb's ahead on cards. And at the end of this turn, he might be ahead on board also. And Caleb's also ahead on life.
Well, if Ollie can get out of this turn with that Jace unharmed, he could potentially try and flash back the Ruinous Path in his graveyard to kill off that Tireless Tracker. Caleb does have a Spell Queller, though, so that could be a little rough.
Yep.
All right.
Caleb just has access to a ton of mana here.
Prairie Stream for Caleb is going to give him another token through his Tireless Tracker. Let's see what he decides to do. Well, he's just going to draw another card. He's going to make his Tireless Tracker a 7/6.
Man, and just another land. Caleb just drew like 4 cards, and only one of them was a spell.
All right.
Even still, just attacking with the tracker and the land is kind of a good play.
Yeah.
He could also consider just playing his Dustwatch Recruiter and activating it a bunch. And even if Caleb attacks with just the Tireless Tracker, Ollie might decide that he needs to just chump block. I mean, getting hit for 7 is a big chunk of life.
Yeah. All right, so 7's going to go at Jace.
And this is kind of nice. This forces a chump block. He can't let his Jace die.
So Ashaya, the Awoken World, is going to chump the Tireless Tracker. We have a Duskwatch Recruiter for Caleb. And then just going to pass the turn back.
If Caleb knew that he was going to do this, I would have liked... Well, actually, I guess he wants to hold the Spell Queller up. I guess that's the reasoning for this. If he didn't have the Spell Queller, it would have been worth it to...
Ooh, I think Ollie has a Traverse, so we might see some Guilt Leaf Winnower action here if Caleb does not counter the Traverse.
Mm-hmm. And Ollie getting this Nissa and being able to minus it twice is perfect, because now he doesn't have to worry about his Dragonlord Silumgar dying and Caleb getting that Nissa back.
All right, so Ollie is going to cast Traverse. The Ulvenwald, he does have Delirium. Caleb might not know about Guilt Leaf Winnower.
I would probably just counter this.
See, the thing is, if he counters it, then Ollie is free to minus his Jace on the Ruinous Path that's in his graveyard and get rid of the Tireless Tracker.
Yeah, but that'll mean that whatever Traverse gets won't be able to be cast this turn.
Exactly.
So it may be worth it for Caleb anyway, even though he knows that his Spell Queller is unlikely to live.
Now, Traverse the Ulvenwald is a card that had a lot of people very excited when it was first printed, and it's much more difficult than you would think to get Delirium to make this card extremely effective, but in these decks like the Sultai Control deck where it's actively working to get Delirium, it's very good.
Yeah.
Spellqueller is going to snag that Traverse the Ulvenwald from Caleb. Let's see what Ollie decides to do with the rest of this turn.
But if Ollie wants to minus to get that Traverse back, he's not really going to be able to do anything else with his turn. And Caleb's going to have the opportunity to, draw some more cards with his Tireless Tracker, have access to, a boatload more mana to do stuff on the following turn. So I think this bodes well for Caleb quite nicely. This is a situation where you really see Spellqueller. It's not actually answering anything. It's just a good tempo play.
So Ollie's going to languish here. I think that I would have liked casting the Traverse before cashing in my my Nissa for that 4/4 if languish is something that I was going to do.
Yeah. And this languish, it's good. It's not great, though.
No.
Depending on what Caleb draws.
Maybe we just see a Den Protector here for Ollie. Or an Ishkana. Ooh.
Yeah, he may not have time for that. Depending on what Caleb draws. Caleb, I believe he has a fetch land in hand. Might not, but if he does have a fetch land in hand, if he can just play his fetch land, crack it for 2 clues, and Reflector Mage the Dragon Lord, then Ollie's just dead. He can also just activate his Lumbering Falls and attack with everything, and that's going to be pretty bad for Ollie also.
Yeah. So Ollie is going to find Ishkana Graft Widow.
Oh, is that a Selfless Spirit that he just drew?
I think it is.
Dude, that's going to be great because now he can make that attack with everything.
And save his...
Yeah, and save his Tireless Tracker. Huge deal. And, Ishkana is great, but I don't know how much she's going to do against a ginormous Tireless Tracker.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing that's tough about control decks in this format is the offensive sources of card advantage are frequently better than the defensive ones.
Yeah, Tireless Tracker is... We were talking about it a little bit last night, actually. It feels like it's like an aggressive Courser Crew fix.
Yep, that's exactly how I would put it too.
Different ways of card advantage. Now, granted, I've gotten pretty offensive with my Courser Crew fix over my career, but and there's the Reflector Mage. So can that be lethal? 8, 12, and then a clue? Yeah, that's just actually dead.
That's game, folks.
All right, well, Reflector Mage is going to bounce Dragonlord Silumgar.
And because this was a possibility is why I really liked Caleb using Spellqueller in that scenario. It just meant that Ollie's mana would get tied up for the turn.
All right, Caleb's going to cash in one of his clues here.
And he's playing the Selfless Spirit just to be safe.
So we have an 8-power Tireless Tracker, a 4-power Sylvan Advocate. 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 1 from this clue is going to be 13. All right, he's going to cash in his clue.
Allie knows that the writing's on the wall, scoops it up, and now we're on to game 2.
All right, so Caleb Scherer is going to take game 1 over Allie Aintrazi with Bant Company against Sultai Control. Let's take a look at the player sideboards to see how we think things are going to change up here. So Ollie has 2 Summary Dismissal, 2 Negate, 1 Kalidas Trader of Get, 1 Aerial Volley, 2 Deadweight, 2 Painful Truce, 1 Dragonlord Silumgar, 1 Murder, 1 Liliana the Last Hope, 1 Ruinous Path, and 1 Ishkana Graft Widow. How do we think Ollie's going to sideboard here?
So the 2 cards that I really like in the matchup are Dragonlord Silumgar and Ishkana. A lot of the other cards he has are worth bringing in, but they're all just 1-for-1s. We see that game. He needs more than just 1-for-1s. He can't just tread water with removal spells because he'll get buried in Caleb's card advantage. So I think the 2 cards that are going to come in are the Dragonlord Silumgar and the Ishkana. Maybe some of the negate type stuff comes in, but I think he's mostly going to want to just play to the board and then play something really big.
I can agree with that. Now on Caleb's side, we have 2 Negate, 3 Tragic Arrogance, 2 Ojutai's Command, 4 Lambholt Pacifist, 1 Nissa Vastwood Seer, 2 Declaration in Stone, 1 Tireless Tracker. How do you think Caleb's going to sideboard?
So I think that Caleb's going to want to be aggressive but still have a fair amount of reactive elements. Tireless Tracker, I think, is going to be great for him to have pressure and card advantage. I think the Gate is going to be able to do a fair amount of work. Most of Ali's deck is spells. Declaration of Stone is a good way to deal with Ishkana, her tokens, or Dragon Lord Silumgar. And then Ojutai's Command is also a good way to deal with those cards too. So those are the cards that I would expect to come in.
I like that. I like that. Trying to find some way to mitigate the 1-for-1 control elements that Ollie has is going to be real important. And we saw there that Ollie was able to do a lot with his planeswalkers, but ultimately he was just using them to trade, almost 1-for-1s with his opponent's creatures, which really didn't turn to work out very well for Ollie.
Yeah, it bought him a lot of time, but he wasn't using that time to build up into anything. Or, like he had the Ishkana, but the thing is, it's like if he had lived to the following turn and played Ishkana, it wouldn't have even been that good. It would have bought him enough time to see another draw step, but it wasn't really progressing him into any sort of, victorious game plan.
So while our players are finishing up shuffling, let's take a quick look at some information for SCG Game Night. So for those of you watching us live, see our nice Snipcaster Mage pins that we have on. You too can get those by battling in Game Night at your local game store. So every week here in July, we have Snipcaster Mage for tokens and pins. And pretty soon it's going to be switching over to the August pack, which is Young Burrowmancer. So we've got our fiery donkey friend here that you can get every week in August, tokens and pins. And then after that in September, we're going to have Bone Chewer Giant. So we got our little puppy dog here.
Much wow.
In September, yeah. Our doggo, the Doge token, as I like to call it, along with the pins. Go.starcitygames.com/game night. Make sure you let your local game store know that you would like to have this event in your local area so that you can get these sweet tokens and all the swag that comes along with it. So as we come back here and watch our players finish up shuffling, let's learn a little bit more about Caleb Scherer. An interesting point here in this matchup is both of these players are actually Invitational champions.
Yeah, they are.
Ollie beat me in the finals of the Invitational in Columbus last year, and Caleb won the last Invitational last year to get into the Players' Championship. So he's part of Nerd Rage Gaming. He's 28 from St. Louis, Missouri. He has 2 open top 8s with 0 wins, 2 invitational top 8s with an invitational win. He is a graduate student in mathematics working on differential geometry. Those are some big words. He is real smart. No wonder he plays Storm. He lives entirely...
He's a Storm master.
Yeah, he lives entirely out of his backpack, and his diet consists entirely of peanuts.
Might be slight exaggeration on the last 2, but I know he is a very low upkeep kind of person.
Yeah, he is a road warrior with minimal upkeep, and again, he is part of Team Nerd Rage Gaming, who is captained by Joe Lissette. So for game 2 here, Ollie is going to be on the play. Going to start off with his Sunken Hollow and his Swamp. Caleb does have a Lumbering Falls. Let's see if he has a turn 2 play. We do have a Lambholt Pacifist, and he's going to pass the turn back. All right, Grasp of Darkness is going to take care of the Pacifist on Allie's turn. He does just have an Evolving Wilds.
And one of the things that's interesting to do against a control deck, which this Bant Company does do, is if you present enough must-answer threats at the beginning of the game, the control deck has to have a redundancy of 1-for-1 removal in order to make sure they don't fall behind too quickly. But if they have to have as much removal as you have threats, they are unlikely to have enough room for real card advantage elements. And that's how this Bant Company deck is able to get an advantage. Is it just has room for more card advantage, because if any one of its threats stick, it's going to be able to generate some value.
All right, well, Caleb does have a Duskwatch Recruiter and a tapped Canopy Vista on his turn. Ollie does have another copy of Grasp of Darkness on Caleb's end step to take care of it, and just going to pass with 4 lands up. Let's see if this Thalia Heretic Cathar is going to land for Caleb. It does. He has another tapped land in Lumbering Falls, and they're just going to pass the turn back.
Oh, I think your card is going to make a debut.
Maybe.
Could it be? could it be?
Here we have Guildleaf Winnower is going to take care of that Thalia Heretic Cathar. His power and toughness is not symmetrical, so it will be a legal target, but it will enter the battlefield tapped. Having Menace on this card is actually very relevant, as you're able to push through damage pretty well.
Yeah, also attack Planeswalkers. This is exactly what Ali needs, though. He 1-for-1, 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 and then he played a big spell, a 5-mana Guildleaf Winnower, that was able to kill something, so he maintained parity on the board, or answered Caleb's board while building up his own. So, it is the full 2-for-1.
Well, here we have an untapped land for Caleb on his side, and this just screams Collected Company. I might have just played it there while Ollie was tapped out, since he hasn't been playing a whole lot of spells. This might just get ran right into a negate.
Yeah. One nice thing that's also sweet about this Winnower is that if Caleb wants to Reflector Mage it, that Winnower's come into play ability is going to likely impact things farther down the line again.
All right. So Caleb is going to Collected Company here on Ollie's end step. Looks like we get a Spell Queller and something else. Just 2 Spell Quellers. So these are just going to be just good old country 2/3 flyers.
They do fly.
Going to start pressuring Ollie's life total.
Flying is a very relevant text. So, and it looks like Caleb actually has another Collected Company and a negate to back it up. So if he can hit his 6th land drop, he's going to be in pretty nice spot here.
All right, so Ollie is going to fall down to 16. Caleb's going to pass the turn back. No plays. Let's see what Ollie can get going. He does have that copy of Emrakul in his hand.
Yeah, he's also got a Languish. So we got to see if this Winnower's body is valuable. If the Winnower's body doesn't trade with anything, then it will have played out to just be a 1-for-1. It would be interesting to see if Ali attacked, because that might incur a Collected Company.
I think that I would have attacked first.
Mm-hmm. So this isn't that much value for Ali,
Right.
even if it did resolve.
Caleb is going to counter the Languish with a negate.
I almost would have liked to let Caleb, or have Caleb let that resolve, and then just cast Collected Company end of turn. But maybe he's worried about a negate from Ali. Because if he could get 2 other creatures from his deck into play rather than these Spell Quellers, it'd probably be better. He has access to a lot of 3 and 4 power creatures that would be better attackers. And if it was something like Tireless Tracker that could generate value, or Nissa, that would be really good. And then you could just keep that negate for something more important.
All right, Ollie's deciding if he wants to attack or not. He's not going to attack with that Guildleaf Winnower. Going to pass the turn back to Caleb. Caleb's just going to crash in with his 2 Spell Quellers. That's going to knock Ali down to 12. For a turn is a pretty fast clock.
Yeah, and Ollie's holding back this Winnower because he's worried about those Lumbering Falls. And we're seeing that, the Winnower, it's... so far, it's been like a 5-mana Doomblade.
All right, well, here we have an Oath of Jace for Ollie. It's going to give him 3 cards, and then he has to discard 2 cards.
And this is a great card for flipping your Jace or enabling Delirium. Also a good way to dig through your deck without paying life, as Read the Bones makes you do. So this is a card that we really haven't seen too much in Standard. I think it's pretty decent, but it doesn't actually generate much card advantage. It's good card circulation. It's good card filtering. It's not good card advantage. So... And Ali really needs some card advantage. He really needs like a Treasure Cruise. That would be great.
All right, so it's like we're going to get a Deadweight discarded, and a Silumgar's Command is going to be the discard. So that will give us instant sorcery, land, enchantment. So we do have Delirium now. Ollie has a Traverse the Ulvenwald. It looks like he's going to cast. Maybe we'll see a Collected Company in response to try and find a Spell Queller.
Yeah, it could be a little dicey if Ali's other cards are land Languish. So I like Caleb kind of holding off on it. Does seem like Caleb's in the driver's seat. He's got some nice options in his hand. The game state can change pretty quickly with one good collected company. Those lumbering falls can give him a burst of damage in a single turn if he needs it. Like if we saw something like collected company into Sylvan Advocate, Reflector Mage, untap for another land, we could just see a lethal attack, you know.
Yeah.
So
Looks like Ollie tapped his basic forest for that Oath of Jace. Had he left it untapped here, he'd be able to find like Nissa Vastwood Seer off this traverse, get another forest, and then transform the Nissa since he hasn't played a land yet. But since he doesn't have that available to him, we're just looking at a Jace.
Yeah, I don't think he was really considering that as an option because it would just die to the 2 Spell Quellers so easily.
Well, he does have Emrakul in his hand, so he wants to get enough lands on the battlefield to be able to play play the Emrakul. Well, here we have a Selfless Spirit and a Sylvan Advocate for Caleb is going to find off that collected company on Ali's end step. And this is not looking for our runner-up from last weekend in Indianapolis.
Yeah, if Caleb could hit a land here, that would be really good. Although another Spell Queller. Oh, he has a Reflector Mage in hand. Jeez.
Sometimes you just got it all. I mean, he doesn't have that Planeswalker tattoo on his arm because he's not an actual Planeswalker.
It is true. Yeah, this is a little interesting. So he might choose for Reflector Mage the Winnower, assuming that the game's not gonna go long enough for Winnower being recast to really matter. But the thing that's got to be scary is a Languish.
Yeah. All right, well, here we just have an attack for 6 from Caleb with 2 Spell Quellers and a Selfless Spirit. That's going to knock Ollie down to 6.
And I think if I were Caleb, I would just play a Sylvan Advocate and then pass with the Spell Queller mana open. And you'd set himself up perfectly to just win on the following turn. Ollie needs to do something pretty serious in order to live. He will be able to flip this Jace, though, and flash back a Languish. So if you can get an instant speed removal spell for a Spell Queller that tags Languish, that would get him the win, but we'll see what he can do here.
All right, so Ollie is going to flip his Jace. We're going to pause for a second and take a drink of water.
Things are heating up. You know, you gotta need a water break. Timeout, guys.
I do that a lot. I like to drink smart water because it makes me smarter.
Is that how that works?
Nope. I'm still not.
I think probably one of the safest plays that Ali can make here is to just cast his Ishkana, just so that he has a bunch of blockers. Caleb has this, Spell Queller that he's basically representing. Ali knows that he has the 3 mana available. So it's going to be a little tricky, for Ali to navigate through this. But if he can play Ishkana, stabilize the board, and then try to follow up with a Emrakul, that would certainly be a good path. But it's going to be a little tricky. Ali's at really low life total.
So it looks like Ollie transformed that Jace in his upkeep, and I think what they were checking on was to see if the Oath of Jace would actually trigger.
Yeah, I don't believe it would because I think the Jace would need to be there at the beginning of upkeep.
I think that's how it works too. We'll get word on what the ruling was. Here we just have an Ishkana is going to come down for Ollie.
And that's going to be 4... So I think what Caleb wants to do here is just flash in the Spell Queller end of turn, untap, bounce, or let's see if he untaps.
Bounce the Ishkana itself.
If he untaps and attacks, or bounces the Ishkana and attacks with everything, it'd be 4 blockers to block 4 of his creatures. So if Caleb is able to flash in the Spell Queller, untap, draw a 6 land, he would have Ollie dead. Although I guess the Jace Plus is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think the Jace Plus is going to hit a Spell Queller.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like it's just going to hit a Sylvan Advocate. Am I going to pass the turn back? Let's see if Caleb flashes in that Queller. He does not. He wants to have protection from the Languish that's in Ollie's graveyard. Looks like he draws a Thalia.
And he's got all these 3-mana spells in his hand. If he could just hit a 6 land drop, it'd be so huge. Not only would it make his Sylvan Advocates bigger, but it would let him play 2 spells in a turn, which right now hasn't been able to. If he's playing 1 spell a turn and Ollie's playing 1 spell a turn, but Ollie's playing 1 spells that are cards like Winnower and Ishkana, that's when Caleb is going to fall behind. Caleb really wants to be casting 2 spells a turn so that he can stay ahead on tempo.
Yeah, a 6 land even makes it so that his Lumbering Falls would be 7/7s now with the 2 Advocates.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice that they stack.
Yeah, honestly, it's like kind of unfair almost. I've been attacked by some extremely big Lumbering Falls, and I'll just think to myself, you know,
why is this
going
happening?
on? Yeah, is this what Richard Garfield intended?
All right, so Caleb is going to take a little bit of time here to figure out how he wants to navigate this particular turn.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the point where things start to slip away from Caleb. Ali is the one who has cards that do things in a board stall. Specifically, the Ishkana can deal some damage. Jace can, tick up or tick down.
Well, he does get to scry 1 in this upkeep because of Oath of Jace, along with Jace Telepath Unbound. He's going to put that card on the bottom. Let's see if he can find 3, 4, 5. How many card types do we have in the graveyard if we can get a confirmation?
Imagine there's at least 5.
I think that there's 5, so maybe Emrakul costs 8 mana. We only have 7 lands now. Here we have another Oath of Jace. Well, this is going to... Well, there's already an enchantment there, but that will let us draw even more cards.
Mm-hmm. And I think that with these draws and this Oath of Jace in the graveyard, Ali's got to be able to cast that Emrakul next turn. So all he wants to do is just not die. Ooh, Languish.
All right, so we're going to discard a Lumbering Falls. And a Languish. So he does get to play a Sylvan Advocate. So the more creatures that he can put on the battlefield that lead into this Emrakul turn, the better.
Yeah.
This is going to get snagged by a Spell Queller, though.
If Caleb wants. Yeah. Caleb might see it as a trap. Because if Caleb Spell Quellers that, then he has nothing to stop Ali from just flashing back a Languish with Jace.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be total blowout city. That's a technical term, ladies and gentlemen.
Technical term?
Yeah, total blowout city.
Boss terms?
Yep.
All right, so it looks like it has resolved. We're going to get a plus on Jace, maybe? Just on the Sylvan Advocate again.
And what's unfortunate about this for Caleb is, he's going through another turn where he's just not doing anything. He's finally going to draw his 6th land, which is great, but now it might be too late.
So this is going to turn on both of those Advocates, along with the Lumbering Falls if he were to activate them, and open up a double spell turn for him.
Yeah, he really needed these double spell turns to come earlier, though. We might see an end get promised here.
If
Indeed.
he takes Caleb's turn and Caleb still has that Spell Queller, he might even just be able to use it to counter one of his own spells.
Yeah.
Which honestly isn't the worst.
I think what I like doing here is playing the Thalia and keeping the Spell Queller up. And then trying to set yourself up for a big attack on the following turn with Reflector Mage.
And I wonder if Caleb just feels this Emrakul looming.
I wonder if Ali told him he just had it.
I got it. Ooh, well, there's a tireless tracker. And he's just going to pass the turn.
So it looks like Caleb's just looking to play towards a longer game. Thalia would have been the more tempo-orientated play. Tireless Tracker is saying, I'll take things a little slower.
All right, well, we're going to scry 1 to the bottom. You draw a card. Looks like we got a land. He's counting.
Yeah, that's always got to be
bad.
Bad.
Can we make 13? We can make 13. We've got a trigger. Ooh, Caleb is just going to concede.
Yeah,
so he knows there's only 10 minutes left, 10 and a half minutes left. He wants to be able to win the match. He's just going to scoop him up in the face of Emrakul, the promised end. Like I said in my article, the game doesn't immediately end, but you're pretty much just going to lose. Emrakul just gives you a turn so you can die in dignity. So let's take a look at the player sideboards here. Do we think that there's going to be any changes?
I think counter spells get worse when you're on the draw, so that may factor into each opponent's decisions a little bit, but I can't imagine things are going to change by more than just 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that we got to see just how good Ishkana is against these Bant decks. I mean, we've seen it from all the Delirium decks and whatnot, so I do like having the Ishkanas. It's interesting that he brought in the Deadweights, but cards like Duskwatch Recruiter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great cards in this deck. You got to remember them all. But Duskwatch Recruiter does have to be handled immediately.
Yeah, the other thing too, I think Caleb would have been able to overpower that Ishkana if he had hit his 6th land drop earlier.
Yeah.
I think that's what really did it. So often with aggro decks, the way that they get ahead is just by playing spells before their opponent. But then the way that they stay ahead is they get to hit 2 spells a turn territory before their opponent does. And Caleb just wasn't able to do that. No, not only was he not able to play 2 spells a turn without the 6th land, but it also meant that he was holding his Spell Queller up and then just not doing anything with his turn. And there was 2 turns where I think he passed with 5 mana and did nothing with it, which is, as an aggro deck, that's just a good way to lose the game. It's just by not casting your spells.
To be fair, these Bant Company decks are a little unique in that regards, as it's a lot to ask from a deck to still have aggressive curve outs and be able to hit 6 lands on time to get to that double spell phase and turn on your advocates. But that's how the deck's built. Maybe going up to that 26th land is the correct thing to do. And for those of you who are looking for some sweet lands for your Bant Company deck, we do have that weekly sale going on at StarCityGames.com, where you can check out, all of the select full art lands are on sale. StarCityGames.com weekly sale. It ends Monday 10:59 a.m. and you can save on select full art basic lands.
Yeah, whether you want Unglued or Zendikar or Battle for Zendikar, Star City's got you covered.
Yeah, so you can get regular and non-foil and foil versions of the lands, but it does end Monday at 10:59 a.m. So don't miss out. Make sure you head on over to StarCityGames.com and check out that weekly sale.
So now Caleb is going to be on the play, and I would guess that he's probably a favorite.
It looks like he has mulligan to 6 though, so let's see. He is going to keep his 6. Keep the scry on top, so that's basically like having 7 cards.
Yeah, even with the mulligan to 6, I still like Caleb's chances here.
All right, so he's going to start off with Dueling Lumbering Falls.
The Lumbering Falls Mirror.
I wonder if we're going to see that card. We have one of the cosplayers is here walking around.
Yeah,
as a very good Nahiri with a
really sweet cosplay.
With a plushie Emrakul. I wonder if we're going to see any Nahiri action. We did just get to see Emrakul though. All right, so Ollie has another tap land. Caleb is going to find or search out a Plains on Ollie's end step with his Evolving Wilds. See if he has a 3-drop here.
You better have a creature.
He has a Duskwatch Recruiter, but no third land.
Or turn 3 land, yeah.
Ooh, and Ollie has a Deadweight, so he's going to be able to trade very effectively with this Duskwatch Recruiter.
Can he do anything else with this turn, though?
Nope.
I mean, if you can't do anything else, this isn't that much different than an ultimate price.
All right, so 1 Recruiter is down to a Deadweight, but Caleb has 1 to take its place.
All right, and now this is going to be dicey for Caleb. I'll say it time and time again. I think the easiest way for this Bant Company deck to lose is to just miss its land drops. And, Caleb, he's got a Nissa in hand, which will get him to his 4th land if he can hit his 3rd, but
So it looks like he does not have another land. He is just going to attack with that Duskwatch Recruiter. It will transform into a Krowlin Horde Howler. Ali was able to deploy a Hedron Archive on his turn. And while the Howler is definitely better for him as a way to cheat on mana on some of those creatures, Ali might have access to a removal spell here.
Yeah, what's tricky, though, is if Ali just doesn't cast it on his turn and waits until Caleb's upkeep. Again, it's all about, good mana usage. And, all right, so Caleb is able to tag something good. So that's good for Caleb. But it would have been really bad for Caleb if Ali had just passed the turn and cast a removal spell during Caleb's upkeep.
Yeah. So Caleb is able to Spell Queller the Sylvan Advocate. And he picked up another land here, but it does enter the battlefield tapped. He's going to attack for 4.
And if I were Caleb, I would just play my Sylvan Advocate here. Just lose to Languish. Say whatever, man.
All right, well, we're going to have a Canopy Vista and pass. Looks like Caleb has forgot his Werewolf Transform trigger.
Yeah, these werewolves are tricky. It's a trigger that you can miss almost every turn of the game.
Yeah. And it has, since the missing trigger rules have changed, it's not both players' responsibility anymore, so you can allow your opponent to miss the trigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, it's tough, too. Like, when you're in Caleb's position, you're like, man, I'm missing my land drops. How am I going to get back into this game? And there's just, like, a lot to keep track of.
All right, well, Ollie's going to try and use a Murder on that Spell Queller, and Caleb has a negate for it.
Yeah, and, this is working out well for Caleb because he has a way to use his mana.
Yeah, he hasn't been hitting land drops, but he has been using his mana almost every turn.
Now he gets to play his Nissa.
He's just going to attack for 4 with the Duskwatch Recruiter and a Spell Queller. It's going to knock Ali down to 10.
And now this is great because, Ali's at 10. Caleb has him close to dead. He's got 6 power on the board. He's got a 4th land so that even if there's a Languish, he can try to rebuild. If there's a Languish, Ali will get back the Sylvan Advocate, which is really good. And Ali has access to a lot of mana, but I don't think he actually has access to particularly powerful spells yet. So he's going to get some redraws here, and we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to crack that Hedron Archive, try and find some more cards. Looks like he did pick up a couple removal spells, so let's see what he does here.
Yeah, it looks like he's also got an Ishkan in hand, which is a great way to stabilize the board.
So Ishkan is going to come along, and so is a Deadweight is going to kill the Duskwatch Recruiter. And we're going to get a Traverse, so 3
I'm
spells
going to do this,
in 1
and
turn.
this, and this.
And let's see if we just go get Emrakul. 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7. We currently have 7 mana available, but we have an enchantment and an artifact, and a sorcery and an instant and a land. So Emrakul is only going to cost 8 mana, but he's going to go get Winnower instead.
And I like the Winnower just because it's a bit more efficient. It looks like he did have the land drop. Maybe Emrakul would have been a good one, but I think this is going to end up working out just fine, despite the low amount of time. He's going to be able to get his Sylvan Advocate back, kill the Queller, and Ali's going to have a good attack.
Oh, well, Ojutai's Command is going to counter the Winnower and get back a Duskwatch Recruiter.
Dude,
that
insane.
Is pretty big.
Wowzers.
All right, Ishkana is going to attack for 3.
Man, and if Caleb can just top deck a Declaration in Stone, he might be back in this.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a 4/5 Sylvan Advocate, and Ollie's going to pass the turn back. Looks like he has Declaration in hand.
Declaration Stone in hand, and a 5th land. If he could, does he have a Reflector Mage too?
Wow,
that would be crazy. I feel like if he had the Reflector Mage, you'd just be firing it off pretty quickly. It's got to be a little tricky to know exactly what to do. If he kills the Spider tokens, his Spell Queller gets to attack, which is nice. And he does have another Spell Queller, so...
Well, here's a Sylvan Advocate. He might just take it slow and try and play around Languish.
Yeah, I guess that's what he's doing. But he could kill the spiders and still have Spell Queller open for Languish.
Ooh, well, there's a Liliana.
That's a good card.
Queller's going to snag it.
And I believe Ali still has a Grasp in Darkness in hand. So he's going to have his choice of either getting back a Sylvan Advocate or the Liliana.
And so he's going to Grasp of Darkness the Queller, get back Liliana.
Because of how much time is left on the clock, I almost like getting or killing the Spell Queller that has the Sylvan Advocate. But I guess this way he can get back the Winnower to get the other one back anyway.
So now he's able to minus Liliana and get back his Winnower.
Wow, what a crazy game.
Well, there's a 6th land, so that's going to turn on all of the Advocates. Caleb's just going to pass the turn back, transform his Kralin Horde Howler.
And in this game, with Caleb stumbling on mana, he wasn't really able to generate any momentum. And it's pretty bad for him at this stage.
Ollie does get to scry. He's going to plus his Liliana on the Nissa. So that's going to make it an 0-1 and a legal target for
The
Gilleaf Winnower.
Yeah, which is pretty good timing because Caleb's at 6 mana. One more land drop would mean he'd be able to flip the Nissa. And that could be difficult for Ali to fight through.
Oh, he's just going to get back his Advocate.
Given this board state, he may just say, if you flip your Nissa, I can just attack it to death.
Yeah. There's not a lot of time here, but it feels like Ollie is really putting some pressure on.
Yeah.
All right, well, we just played the Winnower, so we're not able to attack with it.
Yeah, Winnower does not have haste, but I'm sure they'll get that cleared up shortly. There we go.
Yeah. One of the Advocates can attack, though.
Yeah, if one of the
actually both. Yeah, one of them can attack. The other one just came in from the Spell Queller. Caleb does still have an Advocate down there towards the bottom of his field.
Yeah, if Ali's Advocate attacks, the best thing Caleb can do is just activate Lumbering Falls and block.
Oh,
but it looks like maybe there just wasn't actually an attack.
Here we have a company on Ollie's end step, and the players are in turns now.
Ooh, this looks like a unfortunate company hit. I guess the Advocate makes it pretty good.
Got a Queller and an Advocate. So Kralin Horde Howler should transform here on Caleb's turn.
And it's going to be pretty tough for both of these players to actually win from this state. I think the best chance is for Ali to flip Jace and flashback the Traverse the Ulvenwald and get a Emrakul. Yeah. I think that's probably going to be Ali's line. He's going to be able to do that on, well, he's going to be able to flip his Jace on turn 2 of turns, meaning that
yeah, how does that work if you so if
on
I
turn 4?
If I take my opponent's turn and then they get an extra turn, does that cut off of the turns when you get in time? I think it does.
Yeah, so it seems like I wonder if there's something that would help him actually win on turn 4 that he could get. He doesn't have access to another Winnower, and I don't think there's anything else that has a come into play ability that impactful. He may actually just try to fire off a removal spell with the Jace. From Caleb's side, it's probably a good time to fire off that Declaration Stone. The Sylvan Advocates are an okay target, as well as the Ishkana tokens.
Yeah. Let's see what Caleb decides to do here. Man, time and time again, we just see Ishkana being so good at solidifying the board against these Bant Company decks.
Yep.
Having all of the toughness spread out over multiple creatures makes combat a nightmare.
Yeah. The fact they all reach is a big deal, too.
All right, Declaration Stone is going to take care of both Sylvan Advocates for Ollie, going to give him 2 clues.
And it might be time just for Caleb to attack. Ollie doesn't have a lethal attack on the crackback. So this may be a good chance for Caleb to push some damage and make some trades.
All right, so the 2 Sylvan Advocates are going to come in.
Once again, 3 p.m. Modern Challenge players.
Looks like we're going to get a Winnower and a Spider on 1.
You want to find your seats.
I feel like I would put the Ishkana and 2 of our tokens on the other Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah.
But he must be worried about a Dramoka's Command or something like that.
All right, looks like that's how we're going to block.
So this does do a fair amount of work clearing the board. Caleb's trading 2 of his creatures for 3 blockers. But it's certainly coming at a cost. Those Sylvan Advocates are quite valuable. This will leave it so that Ollie only has 2 blockers plus the Jace to play defense. So Caleb still has a reasonable chance of actually winning on turn 3 or turn 5 of turns.
All right, so 3 Spiders are going to die.
Oh, wow, and he kills the Spiders instead of the Winnower because he doesn't want Ollie to get the Winnower back with Liliana.
All right, so Ollie's is going to be turn 2. Looks like he's going to loot in his upkeep.
And I believe in this instance, he might be able to scry 2 here, because I think the Oath of Jace trigger goes on the stack because there's the Liliana in play, and then in response he flips his Jace to make it so that he gets 2 scries. I'd have to check exactly on the wording of the card, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
It is. So Ollie is deciding what he wants to do here with his scry. There's an Ishkana and a Forest.
And if you're in a longer game, I really like that line of play of minusing Jace to get Traverse the Ulvenwald for Emrakul. But Ollie basically needs to win on the following turn. I wonder if he has enough mana to actually cast Emrakul this turn. If he could cast Emrakul this turn, then it would just be completely different.
All right, he's going to minus his Liliana. He's just going to get back a Jace here.
I wonder if that was an attempt, like if he was 1 mana off for Emrakul.
To put a Planeswalker?
Yeah. Like if he just milled the, actually no, yeah, if he milled the Emrakul.
Then he could have got it and cast it.
Yeah. Don't know exactly how many creature types are in his graveyard. Looks like there's enchantment, planeswalker, sorcery, land. There's the
he has the artifact.
The artifact, Hedron Archive. Not sure if he has sorcery. Is there a languish in there?
Yeah, I think he discarded it.
So I wonder what he's getting here.
Well, there's the Emrakul. Oh, I wonder if he's going to wait and cast it next turn.
The thing with casting it next turn is I don't think
but
that
then you're
wins
not going
him
to be
the
able
game.
to attack with it.
Yeah. I think he could have cast it this turn. Because I think casting the Traverse would still leave him with 7 mana. And I believe he had at least 5 card types in the graveyard. So maybe some things are exiled that I'm not realizing. But this will be turn 3 of games. This will probably be Caleb's last chance to win.
Yeah. Well, he needed 6 card types to be able to traverse for Emrakul and cast it. So if there are less than 6, then he would not have been able to. We will get a confirmation from the spotter
I have to imagine that if he didn't make that play, it's because he didn't have enough card types in his graveyard.
This is going to be the second draw that we've witnessed Bant Company run into against Ishkana Liliana.
Yeah. And it's tough too. We're early in the season. There's a lot of new cards that have a lot of new text, and a lot of players are gonna be thinking through their decisions a little bit more because they're unfamiliar with them. As we go through the season and people get more practice with the new cards, I would expect things to speed up and there to be less draws. Well, at least I would hope.
Looks like there are 5 card types, so Ali was not able to traverse for Emrakul that turn. All right, well, Caleb is going to activate his Lumbering Falls.
And he can kind of attack with everything with impunity because he can't really die in the crackback, and he knows this is the last turn he's going to get.
All going at Ollie.
And he's got him so close.
Well,
he really does.
Ollie has a Lumbering Falls, so if he keeps all of his creatures here and is able to kill that Sylvan Advocate and activate the Lumbering Falls next turn, he can actually... for some reason I thought he had to do 10 damage. Ollie is at 10, not
Ollie's
Caleb.
at 10, yeah.
I was like, Ollie could do 10 damage next turn.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is just like a free attack for Caleb.
Yep. So close. I wonder if there was an earlier turn where he could have gotten 1 more point of damage. So this looks like we're going to see 9 damage get pushed through, and Ollie will go down to 1.
Yeah. If Ollie casts Emrakul next turn, it's just an instant draw because he can take Caleb's following turn, and then Caleb would get a turn, but it would be after turn 5.
Yeah.
So, while Ollie may be at 1, 1 is not 0. And even though he'll be able to completely decimate Caleb's board, Caleb is not required to concede in the face of a draw. So Ollie's going to scry 2 here. There's a Languish and a Hedron Archive. I think he's just going to put them both on the bottom. He gets to draw a card. It's just another land.
Yeah, and Ollie's got a glut of resources, but if you don't win in time, it's just not good enough. Got to play fast, got to play concisely. Otherwise, draws in these tournaments are basically as good as losses.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little difference between the two.
Here's a loot for Ollie. He's just going to discard Languish, transform into another Jace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guess we have 6 different card types.
So that means that Emrakul will cost 7.
Yep.
And this Sultai control deck is really cool. I'm curious to see how well it does at the Pro Tour. I'm sure some people will pick it up. We saw Sultai mid-range control decks do quite well in the previous season.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the advantages it had was that it had kind of a good Bant Company matchup. Ollie's certainly bringing a lot of the new cards to the table, like Emrakul and Ishkana. Also, the new Liliana is phenomenal in this strategy.
Yeah.
I think I would like to see, what a build of this deck would look like if it was just a little smaller. If it had a little bit more of the mid-rangey elements, so you close a game out earlier.
Yeah.
Your deck was a little bit more efficient. But it's certainly one of the decks that I don't expect to be particularly popular because I don't think that many people will pick it up, but I do expect it to be good.
All right, well, Caleb is going to activate that Lumbering Falls, deal a point of damage to himself, being controlled by Ollie. Going to get some attacks in here.
Like, it would be interesting to see in this Sultai control deck if instead of Oath of Nissa, he just had Tireless Trackers. You know, it would make it so that he didn't fall behind on the board as easily. He'd have more card advantage because Oath of Nissa isn't actually card advantage. Now the players will talk amongst themselves, and it looks like it'll end in the draw, but Caleb might concede. We'll see.
All right, so that match is going to end in a draw between Caleb Scherer on Bant Company and Ale Aintrazi on Sultai Control. The end was